All right. Elizabeth, thank you so much for agreeing to chat with me today. I know a lot of people will be so excited to hear what your experience was like with Le Fashion Lab. You successfully completed the 1 year program with us, and we've absolutely enjoyed everything about having you with us. It's been a great journey on our end, and I think others will be really excited to hear what you were going through before you started, what your experience was like in the middle, and even at the end. So I'll ask you questions about the beginning of your experience, the middle, and the end, okay?
Okay.
All right, thanks for sharing with us. All right, so let's dive right in. So tell us a little bit more about what was going through your head before you decided to join Le Fashion Lab. What were you thinking?
Well, I had done sewing certain things when I was younger and really enjoyed it, but I had frustration because I could not make it come out well-fitting and professional looking. And so I had, after I graduated high school, I just realized more and more that I really wanted to pursue that I really enjoyed sewing. So I initially was going for that. And then I realized, well, why not study fashion design? Because then I could create my own designs and bring those to life. And that would be really rewarding and exciting. So I started just looking into different options. I took a few private classes, and then I started researching whether I wanted to do a degree versus Le Fashion Lab. And so it was a process, but I just kind of worked through that as I was thinking about what I really wanted to do.
Got it, got it. Okay, when you said that you took some private classes, was that with us or was that outside of Le Fashion Lab?
Well, I took some private classes outside of Le Fashion Lab with a lady who lived near me, but she ended up too busy, so we weren't able to continue that. But then I started taking classes at the Fashion Lab.
Got it. Okay. All right. So you started telling us what some of your fears and frustrations were. Can you tell us a little bit more about that, your fears and frustrations in the beginning?
Oh, so yes, my frustrations in the beginning were, I guess, the obstacles that I had to work through kind of were in the decision-making process. For me, was kind of a big obstacle because I had to really self-evaluate and think about, well, like, what do I really want? Like, do I really want a degree, or do I want to learn fashion in a lot less time and just very thoroughly as well, like what like Fashion Lab offers? And so I had to take a lot of time to try to figure out what my desires were. But once I did, I realized that I really wanted to learn the fashion in just a lot less time, because I didn't want to take 4 years before I could really do it. I thought, oh, if I can learn it so well, like the program that Le Fashion Lab offers looks like just what I want to learn exactly, then I would go with that. And so that was, and also another frustration or obstacle was kind of like, the cost for it. I was like, this is what I want to do, but I've got to take some time to earn. So that's what I did. I took time to save up money in order to come, but it was definitely rewarding. So yeah.
Got it, got it, got it. Okay. So tell us a little more about the dreams and desires that you had.
Oh, so I guess my biggest dream and desire that I had coming in was to be able to um, take measurements and then make a well-fitting garment, a complete well-fitting garment. And especially if it was something that I had designed, of course, that would be really unique. So that was my biggest desire, was to be able to go through the whole process from beginning to end of being able to design and make a garment
Got it,
that
got
fit
it.
well and looked professionally finished.
Got it, got it. And while you were, what obstacles did you have to overcome?
I get the obstacle that I had to overcome was the financial obstacle, but that it fell into place once I had saved up. And then it wasn't really necessarily an obstacle, but I kind of did have some fear of like, how am I going to do? Because so much of this stuff is new to me, and I'm learning a lot of new things. But it was definitely challenging, but so fun at the same time. So yeah,
Those were your obstacles. Okay. And I think you answered this already, but I'll ask you again anyway. Why did you want to study fashion design? So many other things that you could choose to. Why fashion design?
I wanted to study fashion design because I really it interested me so much, and it still does, of course. And I really desired to be able to make my own designs and to be able to understand the whole process, because I knew that I liked sewing, but that's only a small part of the process, the actual sewing. And to be able to take all the pieces was the reason why I went for fashion design, because I wanted to be able to understand the whole process.
Got it. Okay. And I know that when you were considering joining Le Fashion Lab's one-year program, you were also researching another university that offered fashion design. And ultimately, you chose to attend Le Fashion Lab. Why did you make that decision?
I decided to attend the Fashion Lab because I realized that after I had done research and everything, that the program that like Fashion Lab offered was very well-rounded and very practical, and offered the classes that I specifically wanted, and would take me to the place where I could understand, how to sketch, how to pattern make, how to take my ideas from my head to the actual garment and all that. So that was the big thing, as well as I chose to go with the Fashion Lab because I could learn all of that in 1 year versus taking 4 years and having to do a lot of extra classes that weren't necessarily geared towards what I want, like having to take core classes or other specific things, whereas what I really wanted was just the practical tools so that I could get into doing it as soon as possible. So, and also the fact that the Fashion Lab program was a lot less expensive than a 4-year degree would be. So
Got it.
those are my
Okay.
reasons.
All right. So you mentioned that before Le Fashion Lab, you took some one-on-one classes with a lady who was offering private lessons at the time. About how long were you with her? I'm trying to understand how long you were sewing before starting with us.
With her, I think it was maybe, I think I took maybe 4 or 5 classes with her.
Okay.
I didn't take many because she ended up she had a family with young children and she wasn't able to do it any longer. But that was the first time I had taken classes, but I had kind of just learned a little bit of sewing from my mom before then, and had sewn some things on my own here, like buying patterns at Joann's and making a few things. But
Got it. Okay. So you were fairly new to sewing when you started with us.
yes.
Got it. Okay. Had you done any fashion illustration or sketching before starting with us?
No, I'd never done any fashion illustration or sketching, but I did take art classes, sketching classes, where I was doing landscape drawing and like trees and shading and things like that. But I had never sketched or drawn the human form before, so that was new to me.
Okay. All right. This is another question for you. With the right effort, can someone who truly has never sewn before still succeed at Le Fashion Lab? What's your opinion?
I absolutely. I believe that anyone who has not sewn before can definitely succeed in Le Fashion Lab, because for very first classes that you take starting in the program are intro to sewing classes, and they just include all the basics that you need. Basically, is so many good things that if you're really new to sewing, if you take those and then you really practice them a lot at home and don't just assume you'll get it just during the class time, you could definitely succeed and really do very well with those classes and what they teach. So
Got it. Okay. And along the same breath, with the right effort, can someone who truly has never sketched before still succeed at Le Fashion Lab?
yes, I believe that they could, because, well, I had never sketched the human form before. I had never done like clothing sketching or anything like that. So, and when I was going through the classes, because the teacher took the time and take you step by step through the different process, the steps to sketch the human form and to sketch the croquis, the model that you use to put your garments on as you're sketching, and all the techniques, that it builds on itself. And it's definitely challenging, or it was for me. What helped me so much was practicing, like just after the class, practicing on multiple pages to try to get the hang of the different concepts. So I think definitely with practice and paying attention, even jotting down some notes about different steps if you want to, it definitely helps, and a person could succeed well with the sketching.
Got it. Okay. All right. So that's basically about before you started with us, or in the beginning. Let's talk more now about the middle and what the program was like in the middle. How has your perspective, knowledge, how did your go again? How did your perspective, knowledge, and skills change as you went through the program? If you can remember how you felt in the middle of the program, what was that like?
Oh, my skills changed a lot, in the sense that I was really able to go from not knowing how to sew a garment with the professional finish and have it look, well made, to being able to do that. That was a big skill thing that I learned. And with working through like the pattern making, being able to understand that and make the patterns to finish a garment and to complete the garment in the end as well, was very just a good skill that I learned. So many things changed from the beginning. The perspective shift that I realized was, I kind of went into the program thinking I'm going to come out the other side like so knowing everything, which is not true, because you can't. It's everything is that Le Fashion Lab teaches is so good and so foundational, so many tools that are wonderful, and I've learned so much. But I had to realize for myself, there's always going to be continual learning and learning afterwards. And so you can't come to the end being like, well, I'm supposed to be like a professional in everything, because a lot of it is there, but a lot more has to come with continual practice and learning in jobs and whatever may come in the future. So that was a big thing that I realized. I was like, that was good.
Okay.
So
Good. Okay, a perspective change. So just to repeat what you're saying that one of the things that you learned is that no matter what, even after the program is complete, there's still so much more for you to learn, right? Because there's so many facets to
yes,
studying fashion design, and each of them is their own skill set, and you could take like the rest of your life continuing to perfect those skills, right?
yes, definitely.
Okay, all right. What was different than you expected going through the program?
For me, what was different going through the program was the pattern making, because I had never done pattern making before, but as I went through it, it was pretty challenging for me trying to follow the instructions, from the book with teacher's help, and then taking measurements. Just the process of working through, especially trying to work through on my own, the creation of different patterns was definitely a little different, because it was kind of tricky, but it definitely made more sense as I went along and learned more and practiced.
Okay, okay. So it was, are you saying it was more challenging than you expected?
Yes, because I didn't really know what to expect
Okay,
necessarily. So yes, it was more challenging, but it got better as time went on.
got it. Okay. And what was a great benefit you had not expected?
A great benefit that I had not expected was just how helpful the teachers were, all of them, how willing they were to answer questions to help me understand things, and um, how well thought out the program was, and how when we had different obstacles like COVID and other things happening, we had to go online, and just when we had, as a class, had different concerns and issues, how you and everyone was so understanding and willing to work with us and um, take our concerns to heart, and everyone was just very helpful. So that was just a wonderful benefit.
Okay, good. Good. Since you mentioned COVID, so what was that experience like? What was the experience like taking some of the classes online?
It was a really good experience. I enjoyed it. I at first was kind of nervous about it because I was like, oh, how will it be doing classes online? But it was it went very well. The classes that we did online were very easy to understand and very online friendly, I guess, in a sense. And even, yeah, so it was definitely a change and a challenge at times, but it was very good. I enjoyed it.
Good, good. Okay. You already mentioned some of the challenges that you faced, but can you think of anything else? Like, did you face any frustrations or challenges throughout the program?
Yes, I faced many frustrations and challenges along the way because uh, so much of the material is new, and there's always, I think, an element of that when you're coming to, you know, some difficult concepts, some things that are not as easy to get as certain other days, but especially for me, I had some struggle with pattern making, learning through that, or especially like in the Illustrator in the beginning was very frustrating until I got the hang of it. And after that, then I enjoyed it. So a lot of I had different challenging, frustrating times along the way, but I think the perspective to just take a little to sit back and be like, well, I've really learned a lot, and and not to be too hard on yourself, and also to, yeah, it is so enjoyable as well. Like, even though it may be challenging and there may be frustrating days and you may be like, I want to pull my hair out or I want to cry, that it's so, there's so many wonderful things and so many victories and stuff as well. It's just a very great journey.
Okay, good. Oh, you just mentioned victories, and that's actually the next question. Did you face what were some of your triumphs and victories along the way?
Oh, a big triumph specifically for me was when I was doing a dress with a lining, sewing a dress with a lining for the first time. It was actually my first ever dress that I designed. In one of the draping classes, we got to do that, and I actually, kind of remembering certain skills and techniques we had used before, I was able to figure out how to stitch the lining of the dress to the zipper so that it was complete and finished inside, and I was able to figure it out on my own. So that was a big triumph for me.
Wonderful, yeah. All right. I've asked you this question before, but I'm going to ask you again. How much time did you spend practicing per week? What would you say?
I would say that I spent about 21 hours a week doing my practice because for me personally, wanted to really focus on the program, and so I did not work during the time that I was in the program. So I wasn't working a job. So the 3 days during the week when I was not in class, I practiced as much as I could on those days, and doing homework or extra practice if I could fit that in, because I'm a very detailed person, and for me to process through things and understand things, I need to like take the time to do it. So I know it's not the case with everyone, but it really helped me to have that time so that I could really get a hang of what we had been covering in the classes, because things move quickly. And so yes, sometimes depending on how challenging certain things were, I would have to work on the weekends as well. So sometimes it would be more than 21 hours, or maybe sometimes a little less, depending, but
Got
the
it.
extra practice helped me a lot.
Yes, you are very thorough and detail oriented, that's for sure. Okay, so this is my next question. What was the most exciting thing that you learned or accomplished?
The most exciting thing that I accomplished was being able to just sew a garment of my own design. And that sounds kind of simple, but it's just because I was able to learn all the pieces by the time I got to the end of the program, that I could take the idea and do the sketch, do the patterns, and fit the muslin, and then make the final garment. That was just very exciting to be able to do that, realize that I had learned to do that on my own.
Okay. All right. And what were some of your favorite subjects or classes, and why?
So one of my favorite classes was the intermediate draping class. We actually came up with an idea for a sleeveless dress, and then went through the process and actually made it in the end. And that was the first garment that I had ever made of my own design and completed. So that was very exciting and enjoyable. And I also enjoyed the illustrator class, because even though it was difficult in the beginning, once I got the hang of it, it was very fun to just, kind of drawing on the computer to put the different pieces together and put the color or the fabric into the image and see what your garment would look like in that respect. So I enjoyed that, and I enjoyed the fabric manipulation class. That was really fun, because we got to make samples of little different ways to use fabric, creative details. That was really interesting.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Coming closer to the end of the program now, and how you were feeling at that time. So hopefully this is not repetitive, but what have you achieved and what are you most proud of?
I'm most proud of the fact that I'm able to take a garment from the idea in my mind and actually create it, and well-fitting, professionally finished. It's just incredible to be able to learn that process.
Okay. All right. And before starting the program, you mentioned you had little to no skills in the following areas. And now I want to ask you, would you now say that you're feeling competent and confident in the following areas, okay? So fine sewing techniques and how to finish garments professionally.
Yes, I feel confident with that.
Okay. How to make patterns.
Yes, I feel confident in how to make patterns, but I also feel like there's that I need to keep practicing, because it was definitely one of the more challenging aspects. And so I do feel confident, prepared with the tools, but that I need to continue to learn that and expand my knowledge so that I can get a hang of how it works a little better.
Okay. And how about fashion sketching and illustration?
Yes, I feel confident with that, with fashion sketching.
Okay. How about putting together a fashion portfolio?
Yes, I feel confident with it.
Okay. How about coming up with a design concept and bringing it to life with your garment construction skills?
Yes.
Okay. And how about knowing how to price your garments and thinking through merchandising options?
Yes, I feel confident with that. I definitely feel like I still need to grow the area of especially merchandising and colorways and things like that, just to get input from other people about that. But I do feel well prepared with the knowledge to be able to understand how it works.
Okay. All right. Are you happy with the skills that you gained at the Fashion Lab?
Yes, I'm very happy with the skills. I learned amazing things, and just being able to understand how the whole fashion design process works. I feel very well prepared with the tools that I need to go forward and to continue learning.
Okay, great. I'm so happy to hear that. All right. So we're gonna kind of wrap up a little bit now. So here are some other questions for you. What do you wish you'd known when you joined Le Fashion Lab? Is there anything that you wish you had known?
What I wish that I had known was into the final class, the collections class, how I needed to start very strong in that class, very hard, because I initially just went into it like any other class. And I know that the big thing that I needed to realize, or I realized after the fact, was it's very fast paced, that class, and it's very a lot of hard work and things. You think, I have 6 weeks or this time to complete my collection, but things always take so much longer than you think. And that's what I learned, and I was like, I wish I had driven really hard in those first week or two of the collections class, because I had to push very, very hard at the end, because I had not worked as hard in the beginning. So I guess that's a thing that I would wish I had known, because then I would have been able to plan a little better. But
Well, that's a good time management tactic as well. So that's good to tell other people. Charge hard in the beginning so that you don't have all that extra work in the end, right?
yes, definitely.
All right. What would you say to any prospects interested in Le Fashion Lab? You've already told us so much, but is there anything that you can think of that you would say?
I would say, to prospects that are interested in the Fashion Lab, just be ready to work hard, be ready to put your best foot forward and to practice. That was the thing that helped me so much to understand concepts, to take the time to try to really ask a lot of questions in class. Don't be afraid to ask questions. I asked so many questions. And take notes if you want to. I just had a spare paper, a little notebook, something that you can take notes on when you come across a process that's difficult, or even just anything. I took notes about a lot of different things, because it helps to have them for reference in the future, or when you're practicing at home. That way you can solidify the concepts better.
That's great advice to give them. So have a little notebook with you throughout the whole program so you can jot down the information that you need so you can practice outside of class. That's good. That's good. All right, so you've been through the program, you've done exceptionally well, and obviously you spent a lot of time practicing outside of class, the concepts that you learned in class. So I think this is a good question to ask you. Who would you say is an ideal Le Fashion Lab candidate? What traits and desires should this person have?
I believe that the ideal candidate for the Fashion Lab would be someone who is really, truly interested in fashion design, who really enjoys it very much, and is willing to commit to learn, to have a teachable attitude, to be ready to be challenged and to grow, but also to enjoy it at the same time, and who is willing to put in a lot of effort and practice in order to come out the other side well, because yes, just to have the drive and a teachable spirit.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And I'm smiling at the end because you were exactly that student. You've been a pleasure to work with. Like I mentioned, so driven, so hardworking. You make no excuses. You do all of the work required to be successful. It's been our absolute and sincere pleasure having you with us for this entire year. And I hope you know that we'll continue to be a resource for you as long as you need it. So we're only a text message or email away, okay?
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to tell us more about what your experience was like in the program. And I look forward to our continued working relationship.
Yes, me too. Thank you very much.
You're
I
welcome.
enjoyed it so much.
You're welcome.